Hey guys, this is Eldia, and today we're actually going to discuss the very sensitive subject of abortion. And I have Ellie here with me, who has experience with this subject matter. She is aware of my opinion. I'm pro-life. I'm aware of her opinion. She's pro-choice. But we're going to talk about it and just, not even get to any conclusions. We're just going to have an open conversation. Hi Ellie, thanks for being on. Thanks for doing this interview.
That's all good.
Yeah. Now, we are friends, so you're obviously aware of my thoughts and I'm aware of your thoughts, and it's never bothered you, my stance, correct?
No, everyone has their right to their own opinion.
Okay, so we're just going to start with questions about your life, and then we're going to seep in a little bit political, but not too much. It's going to be mainly about you and the philosophy behind the whole subject matter. Is that all good?
Sure thing.
Okay, thanks. Alright, so first of all, how old are you, Ellie?
I am 25.
And what happened in your life that resulted in how many abortions?
God. I don't know.
It's an intense question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's very intense because you think about it and you don't think it when you're a young kid and the parents talk to you about like abortions and you go, oh, I'm going to have like a family and it's going to be great. And then you go, oh shit, now I have to have an abortion. I don't know. Well, I've had about 2 and then I've had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
So mostly it was with the wrong partner who I knew wouldn't be able to support the child, and I don't want to bring up a kid in a life where it's going to have nothing and be miserable, because I had that and I wouldn't wish it upon a kid to have not an absent father. So I just was like, you know what, I'm not mature enough to bring up this kid and I don't have the support.
What about for those who would use the argument, well, why not give it up for adoption or something like that, or give it to a family member that could have taken care of it, like a cousin or someone who can't have kids? Does that ever cross your mind? Like, the kid could still be alive, but you would have peace of mind of where it is. Does that ever come into your thoughts, or did that ever come into your thoughts?
Well, I was quite young at the time, so you don't really get those options explained to you. So when I went to a doctor, it wasn't my normal one, so I went to I guess you call it a public one. They didn't really tell you the options, and they say, oh, well, you're young, you're just going to have to do it. And to be honest, I was too young to even want to do it, because it's a lot of stress, and you kind of don't want your parents to see it, and I was quite like, oh, my mum's going to disown me, so as much as I want to keep the kid, I can't, because it will just have a really deep impact on my life.
So the desire to be a mum is still there, and it was there, but so you did see it as a life, but you also looked at the bigger picture. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think with this, you have to look at the bigger picture. You can't just say to a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, have this kid, and not think, how's this kid going to live? How's it going to be able to afford clothes for its back? Like a 16-year-old can't hold down a job and have a kid by not having a father or family to be backing them up. Well, it's just not fair. I wouldn't want that. My mum had nothing to her name and she still had 4 kids, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to my kids.
What about the second one? How much older were you? Was it 2 years later, 3 years later? Like, how was that circumstance different to the first? Obviously, the first, you were too young. That makes perfect sense. So what was the second circumstance like?
Well, the second one was more, same time, bad partner, and he was quite abusive, so I didn't really want to bring a kid into a very physically abusive relationship where I knew that he'd be witnessing their mum being beaten for not saying the right thing. So, yet again, it was just, I can't be supporting something or want to put so much misery on a child.
So you do see the fetus, or I don't know what terminology to use, because these days everyone gets offended at everything. Some people say baby, some people say fetus. Maybe for...
I called it peanut.
A peanut? Okay.
It was tiny.
It was tiny. So, do you see these little peanuts as potential human beings, or are you one of those people that doesn't believe they're human until a certain point, or what is your rationale on that particular thought system?
Oh, well, I don't know. Going back to my medical field, I would say, well, it's not really a human until the heartbeat and the fingers are formed, because by medical terms, that's how they classify it. But
isn't that week 9?
week 10 or 12 is when you can't have abortion, is when the heart and the fingers grow. So
in this country.
In this country, yes, they say. Some people do it for longer, but sure. But to be honest, I don't know. You always think that they're a little baby in there. You're like, oh, you're like a little tadpole that's growing. But I don't know. I had to be like distant myself emotionally, so I wouldn't get so angry.
Okay, so I just want to touch on that. So you personally, because I know you, so I know you're a kind-hearted person who loves animals and loves all people. You had to go through the psychology of detaching yourself from it enough to not feel guilty about it, correct?
Yep.
What do you say to women who promote it and are proud of it and go, yeah, I had my first abortion at this point, woo, those sorts of feminists? Do you consider yourself part of that train, or do you find that pathetic and stupid?
I've got a lot of family here, some of whom are here in the audience tonight. I also had my first abortion at the Seattle Planned Parenthood. Yay! Notice I said first. And I don't want you guys to feel insecure. It was my best one.
As I personally do.
I think any girl who's actually thinking that having abortion is exciting and something to be telling the whole world is a bit stupid and pathetic, like you killed something and you missed out on having a family. Like, that's how I think about it. If I think back, I go, I could have 2 kids right now, but I don't. But I don't see the need to promote it. I don't think it's something to be promoted, but it shouldn't be shunned, as it is most of the time.
Have you heard of Lena Dunham?
No, I have not.
Okay, so Lena Dunham is like a disgusting human being. She's an American actress. She's on a TV show called Girls. I'm sure if I showed you a video of her, you'd be like, oh, I think I've seen her before. She is quite known for saying that she wishes she had an abortion so she could have something so she could have a camaraderie with those women. Do you find that comment moronic?
Yeah, I don't know why you feel the need to want to abort a kid that you possibly have, to feel a bond with people who go through such an emotional thing. Yeah. Like, it's quite traumatic what you go through, because it's not just like you get it done and then nothing happens. It's weeks of you're sore and you're still. It's a lot of stuff to say that you want. It's stupid. Yeah.
It made me angry when I found out she said that. Okay. You just said something that I wasn't aware of. You said that, how many weeks are you sore after? So what kind of abortions are there? Because in the United States, I'm aware that they have saline abortions where they burn the baby from the inside until it comes out. And then they have a vacuum. And then they have one where they use forceps. And then there's the pill that you take. That's what I'm aware of. But I don't know whether here in Australia we do it different. What was the process like? Before and after? Before, during and after?
Well, before they say you kind of have to. I'm trying to think of the first one. It was more like, I think it was a vacuum when I was quite young, and they didn't explain it to me, but it kind of feels like ripping a little bit. So, like, imagine having your period and then, like, feel like someone's, like, scraping with, like a saw. It's the weirdest feeling. Like, you can never explain it until you've had it done. But afterwards, you're bleeding for about a month, and then you feel like there's something in your stomach that's, like, churning, and it's horrible. Yeah. That was my experience with most of them.
For both?
Yeah.
Okay, and how early was it? Before, I mean, obviously in Australia it's before 3 months, so how early was it within that 3-month range?
I did it quite early, because I realised quite early, so I think it was mostly within the month. Okay. For both of them.
And do you ever... You said a moment ago that you have remorse about it, like, not remorse, that's probably the wrong word, but that you think in your head that you could have had 2 kids by now. So you nostalgia, thank you. So you do sometimes think about these little lives.
Yeah, well, you know when you like you meet somebody and you start talking about what kind of kids you want, and then you're going to go, oh, I want like 3 kids, and then I go, well, I could have had 2 of them already, and then just needed the one. So you do think about it, but then you kind of realise, oh yeah, there's a reason why I did it. And my reason might not be valid to everybody else, but it was valid to me at the time.
What do you think about certain circumstances, for example, one of my YouTube videos, which I don't encourage you watch because it's heartbreaking, but there's something known in the US as partial birth abortions, where the baby is fully formed at about 6-7 months. Yeah. Okay, so you are anti a certain point.
No, I don't think the kid should be. No, that's disgusting.
Yeah. So about a month, in your opinion, is enough.
Yes, I don't think you should do it any longer than that.
Yeah. So you do have a moral stance. Not sorry, obviously you have. I didn't mean like that, but you have a point at which you find it deplorable.
Well, I think if you're causing harm to the unborn kid, I think that's a bit much. Like, when it's fetus, yeah, it might feel some kind of pain or it might not. But when it's basically mostly formed, that's a bit cruel.
Yeah, it is. And
like,
it's disturbing to watch.
Like, if I had a kid that was basically all formed, I would have been like, you know what, stuff it, I'm having this kid.
Of course.
If it was formed, I would not even think twice about not keeping it.
Yeah.
Women, for any reason, under any circumstances, have the right to terminate an unwanted pregnancy. This is an absolutely positive moral choice.
So at any time during the pregnancy?
Absolutely.
Up till the moment of birth?
Fetuses are not babies.
At what point?
That's good to hear. So I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive, and it's not my intention to offend you at all. So I'm just going to ask, why, this is what people say, and I'm not on that train, but I'm going to say it the way they would say it. Why didn't you use the pill? Why didn't you use birth control? Why didn't the condom work? Like, what happened for that to have resulted the way it did? Again, I do love and respect you. I do. I love and respect you.
Easy
yeah.
question to answer.
Okay, please go ahead. There's a little bit to unpack there, but go for it.
Sex ed in school didn't tell me about the pill. Well, I tell you about condoms, but like when you're 16, you're just like, what the heck? And the pill, I was just not aware. My mum didn't give me that talk, so I wasn't really very aware of what I should be doing. If I was, I probably would have done it and avoided all this. But I don't know. I think schools kind of just do the basics, and they don't actually get down like, oh, if you don't do this, this happens, and no. So I was just not aware that I had to do these things, and then sometimes I thought, it's a man's job to protect himself with a condom. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah.
Fair enough. So, being a little bit older and wiser now, do you think you'll ever result in that same circumstance again, or have you been good at preventing it, and like, are you like a lot more careful than you were?
Well, yes. Like, now I'm on the pill, but my reproductive system isn't as best, so my chance of having kids isn't as high as it once was. But I can still have them. It'll just be a bit more of a try. But now I'm actually more aware. But just need better education. Yeah.
Do you think if you did get pregnant now, say from 25 up, you would keep it, or you're still not sure?
I think now I probably would be more lenient to be like, no, I want it, but I'd still be questioning, do I have a house to put over its head? Do I have enough clothes and all? Like, that still wouldn't leave my head, but I probably would have a little bit more of a support system for the kid now.
I'm going to ask you some more political type questions now that kind of are in the field of abortion. Do you think... How do I phrase this? Hang on. Do you think feminists, the radical feminists who are fighting for abortion up until the 9th month should shut the fuck up?
So to do it in 9 months?
Yes, that's what.
Oh my god, they should be like hung. That's ridiculous. Oh my god, that is disgusting.
I know, and
if someone said to me, "We can kill your kid at 9 months," I'd be like, "Are you retarded? That kid is alive.
Yeah.
It has a heartbeat. It can cry."
Yeah.
No, that's disgusting. Idiot.
So would you say you're pro-choice to a point?
Yeah, I'm pro-choice. I think everyone should have the right to make their own decision without people trying to push their opinions onto them. But I also think that there should be some level of maturity against it. Like, 9 months to abort something is a bit crazy.
There are those who are more religious who protest, or once upon a time used to protest to save the unborn. And today, it's the other way around. It's those who are on the left, those who are not necessarily religious, stereotypically, if we're going to group them in forms of stereotypes, who are not really that religious, who are now protesting for the right to be able to abort up to the 9th month. Do you, in your opinion, are those the same thing? People who protest to keep the baby and people who protest to be able to abort up to the 9th month, do you see that almost as the same thing, or do you think one group has more of a better intention than the other, or do you think that they both had good intentions in their opinions? Does that make sense?
I think they both have, in their minds, think they have a good intention. Like, everyone, I don't think people act out in a nasty way, so they probably have reasons to their belief, but it comes down to, like, how mean something is. Like, 9 months to abort something, and then maybe a church. I do get why churches want to, like, savour the life, but
you don't understand why Christians or Jews or whatever would want to save the life of a baby that's about to be aborted? That doesn't make sense to you?
It makes sense to me, but then it's kind of like, but are they looking that way for the person's, like, situation? Like, certain things, but, like, let's say they wanted to keep the kid and then they give it up for adoption, then fair enough, that's fine. But it comes down to circumstance, I guess.
What's a circumstance that you think is okay for abortion, and what's a circumstance that you think is not okay for abortion? Obviously, we've already established anything beyond 3 months is not okay, so that's one circumstance that we would agree on. What would you say is a circumstance that that should just be, yep, you can abort that because, I don't know, rape or whatever? Like, what would your opinion be on, yes, don't question them, just let them?
Rape would be a high factor. If someone got raped, and automatically how traumatic that is. You don't, and then as much as that kid's probably a bundle of joy, the mother's never going to see it that way. She's going to see that's the kid to someone who very much hurt me. So I do understand from that perspective. But then, and I know people will...
You know people who have been raped?
Yeah, and then I don't see why... Like, I would not wish anyone to keep a kid and then be constantly looking at their, like, torture.
But the baby is a separate human being and a separate DNA, right?
Yeah, but the mother won't see that. She'll just see them, because babies come out always looking like the dad.
Well, I think that's flawed logic. I think a baby genetically will look like whoever it ends up looking like. You can't really control that.
Exactly, but I don't know. That situation for me, I think they should have the choice to do it, whether they want to do it or whether they don't. That should be their choice, and they shouldn't be, like, victimized for it. That's disgusting. Like, I'm sure people will protest that, but then I say, well, if you got raped, how would you feel? Like,
I'm in the category of people who would protest that, and I would keep it. But I mean,
I'm sure if you actually did it, I think we'll be talking different. So,
well, God willing, it never happens.
Yeah, let's hope that never happens to you.
But I just think, that child would be like a little source of light in my life, perhaps.
No, I think most people don't see it, but they just think of the bad times that comes.
I don't disagree with your logic. I'm simply saying that I think a woman is smart enough to separate the raper from the innocent baby.
Some might be. Some aren't that strong, like,
no.
Physically and mentally aren't that strong to separate the two. Some women probably are more like, you know what, this happened, but I'll get over it. Some just, a traumatic thing like that just breaks them.
Yes, this is true. What about Down syndrome?
I don't know. I've always found Down syndrome kids to be very cute, so...
I agree.
So I personally, if my kid had it, I'd be like, oh, that's cute. But I would be concerned about them being bullied and, like, how would I, like, deal with it.
I was bullied. I'm still here.
No one cares about you. I don't know. They, like, if you can look after them and have the, like... what's the word? Like...
What I meant by saying I was bullied was that anyone can get bullied.
Yeah, anyone can get bullied, but I feel like as a parent, you'd always be worried about that. You always go, oh, but you don't want them to be subjected to certain things.
But parents worry in general, right?
I don't know, like, people have cerebral palsy. I know that my kid has that, and she's constantly scared that, but everyone in kids loves it. But I think if you can look after if they have Down syndrome, you can go for it. Like, I would, if Mike found out my kid had it, I'd be like, okay, that's not going to change my mind. I'd love it all the same.
Mm-hmm. Is anyone in your family aware of your abortion history?
No.
Oh, not one.
No.
And is that because of any particular reason? I mean, your family is not like super religious or anything?
My mum's side is. They're very like, and then my mum's very old school in the, you have to have a ring on the finger and no. And it was just, as a young kid, I was just scared that, because my mum wasn't always the greatest mother, so I was just too scared to say anything, and if I say one thing to another, one person will find out, so I just kind of kept it to myself.
Fair enough. Is that a lot for you? Is that a lot to hold on to?
It wasn't when I was younger, because she'd always be like, oh, you're so moody, you're always in your room, and she'd never understand why I was always in my room, because half the time I was in my room crying. Like, it was just, for a 16-year-old to go through something so traumatic, you kind of, and then your mum not to know, and a lot of people rely on their mothers. It's a big thing, but you know what? Yeah, I just grew up and was like, you know what? I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm going to get up and be stronger.
In terms of the way people lean politically when it comes to abortion, do you think you're more on the left or the right? Because the reason I ask this is because in today's day and age, those who are on the right try to promote other choices, because they're like, well, we don't want you to terminate this pregnancy because that's another little human, that's another life, and people like Milo Yiannopoulos and other people on the right, you know, say that women end up having depression, and you just said that you cried a lot. People on the left don't even talk about that. They just say it's a woman's right to choose, and that's that. There's not much more of a very good argument except for that one line that they keep spouting. Where do you stand on it? Do you think you lean more left, more right? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit of like Switzerland, to be honest. I don't really
kind of neutral.
Yeah, just each side have, I guess, their own points, but you can't really falter on someone's opinion. So they might think, oh yeah, that's the girl's right. Yeah, it is the girl's right, but you got to take into other accounts.
You just said earlier, though, that you think people who try to promote it and are proud of it, you find that disgusting. And you also said that you find it quite horrible that you can do it to the 7th month, which is what they are promoting in the US, and which is what the state of Colorado actually does. So you do, philosophically speaking, from what I've gathered so far, you do lean a little bit more right on it because you do find those things kind of deplorable. So would you agree with that analysis?
A little bit, but I don't know. I don't really put too much thought into it because, like, half the time everyone has stupid arguments. I get over it, so I'm like, yeah, cool.
So just from I'm trying to diagnose you, I would say you're centre right. So you lean a little bit more right, but you still think that women have you still think women have the right to choose, but to a point. You're not going to promote like to the 6th, 7th, 8th month because you know you're human and you're not a robot. Yeah, you're not a Hitler. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of more questions. I can't think of anything. So yeah. So thanks so much, Ellie, for talking to me about this subject matter. I know it's quite intimidating and intense, but you did really well, and I'm glad that you and I can talk about these things and not get caught up in unnecessary drama and emotion. Was it okay?
It's all fine.
Okay. I didn't make you like extra sad?
Nope. All good. I'm strong still.
Yes, you are. Just before we finish up, I did just think of one more question. This will sound really stupid, and I'm aware that my listeners will think it sounds stupid, but do you think, when you think about those babies, or peanuts, whatever you want to call it, do you think of them as human beings in a better place? Like, do you think they're somewhere better? Or do you think that they didn't have a spirit or a soul?
I think everything has a spirit. I always believed, like, if I had a kid and then my grandfather soul would, like, immorse into that kid. I always think that, like, whoever dies around you kind of, like, immorse into a new life. So I do feel like maybe they're up somewhere and then maybe they've just gone into something better. But
okay.
We'll see.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. And let's go get some froyo.
Woo! Froyo!